In any area of your life where you feel stuck, you know what you need to do to move the needle, to change your career, to improve your health, to work on your marriage. The information is everywhere. And in fact, if you're listening to me right now and you go, Mel Robbins, you are wrong. I have no idea what to do. I just know I'm stuck. Go to Google and type in, I hate my job, and you will get hundreds of millions of links. You will probably find 100,000 videos that are made by people who have been stuck in their jobs, who will walk you through a step-by-step process that you could take in order to change. The what is easy. The issue is how. How do you make yourself take actions when you're afraid, when you're scared, when you're overwhelmed? How do you break bad habits? How do you break the negative thinking that is causing you to feel paralyzed?
Here is the secret to ending your suffering. Trade your expectations for appreciation, and your whole life will change in that moment. The minute you appreciate something, your suffering is gone. It's just your expectations that are stressing you out. And sometimes not meeting your expectations will cause you to come up with a new way to grow, a new way to do something that's better than what you did before. What would your life be like if you made this decision today for real? Screw everything else. We've got a million other things we're going to do to improve your life. What if you really made a real decision? You said, I am not suffering anymore. Life is too short to suffer. I'm going to live in a beautiful state. I'm going to have a good time every day, no matter what. And I'm going to catch myself. I know I'll get off target for a minute, but I'll catch it and get right back in a beautiful state.
See, the problem for most of us is we think about what we need to do, but thinking won't change your life. The only way you're going to change your life or change your career or change your health is to take action. And so the reason why so many people get stopped by procrastination and stopped by fear and stopped by anxiety is because they never get past the part of just thinking about it. And I believe that we all have a habit that I call the habit of hesitation. And in psychology, psychologists and researchers say there's basically two types of people, right? There's people that have a bias towards action. And those are the kinds of folks that when inspiration strikes, or when confidence strikes, or when courage strikes, or when opportunity strikes, they tend to lean toward it and to take action. And based on research, those folks tend to be happier, healthier, more successful, more fulfilled in life. And then there's the rest of us. And those of us that have what psychologists call a bias towards thinking, which means in a moment of uncertainty, a moment of opportunity, a moment where you need courage or confidence, instead of leaning toward it, you lean away from it and you start thinking, what should I do? And it's that habit of hesitating in moments of change that is keeping you stuck. We call it procrastination, we call it overthinking, we call it a lot of things, but it's just a habit of pausing, and then you trip into patterns of thinking and patterns of behavior that have been holding you back for years.
What tips would you give a highly emotional person to become more rational and level-headed?
Oh, well, it depends. There's a variety of... The first thing I would do if you're highly emotional, like highly emotional, volatile, fly off the handle, a lot of mood variation, a lot of negative emotion, the first thing you might want to think about is whether or not there's actually something wrong with you, like physically. You might be ill, because illness can do that to people, and so you should go get yourself checked out. You know, you might have an inflammatory condition or something like that. And the next thing I would check out is like, are you sure you're not hungry? I'm dead serious about this. I mean, with many of my clients who've been anxious, like a lot of them, they come in and say, I'm so anxious. I had this one client, she'd come in and she'd say, God, you know, I'm so dead at the end of the day. I'm just wiped out. I've got no energy at all. All I can do is lay down. She was like 24. All I can do is lay down and watch like the same movie I watched the night before. Is that normal? It's like, well, no, it's not. So, and I knew this. I said, well, what do you eat? And she said, well, I usually don't have any breakfast. And then I have like a little bowl of rice for lunch. And I usually have something like that for dinner. And I thought, you live on 2 balls of rice a day, and you're wondering why when you come home at night after a full day's work, you don't have any energy. I said, well, have you considered the possibility that you're starving to death? So, we talked about this. I said, you can't live like that. That's not going to work. How about let's try this for a week? You do this with therapy, and you do experiments if you're a behavioral therapist. It's like, you got to come to an agreement with the person. It's like, look, if there's some other things you'd eat other than rice, like 4 other things. It's like, we agreed. Maybe she'd eat an egg or something. It's like, or I think it was eggs. And I don't remember what it was. There was a few other things. I said, okay, look, here's what you do. Get up in the morning and have 2 eggs. You don't have to enjoy them. Because people say, well, I'm not hungry. It's like, why is that relevant? That's not the issue here. It isn't like gourmet time. It's not starving to death time. So eat your 2 eggs and maybe in 3 months you'll enjoy it. Until then it'll be like chewing down rubbery cardboard, but it's not that big a deal. So, we upped her caloric intake by a factor of about 4, and she came back, and it was like, I think she came back 2 more times. It's like, oh, I have lots of energy now. It's like, oh, good, you're not dying of starvation. It's like, and I'm telling you, if you're a volatile person, try this. Eat a high protein, high fat meal in the morning. No sugar. And a big one. Have a steak. Have something solid. And doesn't matter if you like it. Who cares? Cook it the night before if you don't want to cook it then. Just try it for a week and see what happens.
I just gave you a tool that I happened to discover that helps you move from thinking to doing.
Yeah.
So she moved herself from thinking about how much she hated her job to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stopping the thinking by counting backwards and pushing herself to move. She moved herself from thinking about applying for the dream job of yours and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 hitting send. She moved herself from thinking about going to the gym to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cutting the procrastination loop in half and then replacing it with a push to take action. And so what's so elegant and simple and empowering about the 5-second rule or the high 5 habit or all the other simplistic stuff that I tend to share with the world, because that's the stuff that works for me, is that these are all tools that cut through the bullshit holding you back. And it just so happens that your nerdy friend Mel has done all the research to be able to explain to you why science and research and decades of psychological academic work actually is encapsulated by counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or in this particular new brain hack, the high 5 habit, how simply high-fiving the human being you see in the mirror every single morning as part of your morning routine will build the habit of self-empowerment, self-respect, self-worth, self-encouragement, self-love. This is powerful stuff.
The minute you stop complaining about your kids, but you look at the things you love in them. The minute you stop complaining about your partners and you think about what's a better way to get through them, it's just a chance for me to grow and expand. The minute you appreciate anything, your suffering is over. Because loss, less, and never is always a lie. You don't lose something, you gain a new option. You aren't in a place where you can never do it again except when you believe that shit. Because whatever you believe, you're going to live. A new set of appreciations and suffering is over. Remember, there's an old phrase, it says, don't sweat the small stuff. And the second rule is, it's all small stuff, right? What would life be like if all the things you get frustrated by or stressed about or worried about, if you just wouldn't indulge in them anymore? If you started to, you'd catch it within 30 seconds or less and snap out of it and find yourself focusing on something you could appreciate or something you'd love or something you're grateful for or someone you love. If you were to train your mind and heart and body to live in a beautiful state every day, no matter what, how much more magnificent would your life be? How much more joy would fill your body? Because when you're grateful, suffering disappears, doesn't it? You can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. They don't go together. Every problem is temporary. Only your soul is permanent.